Well, as we were talking, some information popped live here that maybe we can talk about right now. And it's very interesting. One of the premier edge rushers has put out there publicly, Myles Garrett wants out. And
Wow.
it's smart. I think that when you look at his position in the league, um, it's one of those deals where, he's somebody that doesn't want to go through a rebuild. You know that you're going through quarterbacks. The Browns are in a rebuild. Um, it's one of those deals where it makes sense for all parties involved. You got Zadarius Smith. Does it make sense, in your opinion, for the Lions to pursue Myles Garrett? Do you think it's reasonable, feasible for the Lions to make an offer, knowing that, well, you did an article potentially knowing what it would take to maybe move on from Zadarius Smith? Do you upgrade, or do you say, hey, goes back to our point earlier, draft your free agency? You take a swing at Myles Garrett, Christian?
Absolutely. 100%. I think it's got to be Myles Garrett. Like, if you think about what he could bring, you talk about win now with the Lions. It's all win now, in my opinion. Like, obviously, they want to be sustainable. And so you're going to have to give up some things, like, in particular, draft picks. You're going to have to give up the picks. And that's going to be the way it has to be. But I think anytime you have an opportunity to get a guy like Myles Garrett in there, and I'm going to have to take a second here and get the details as far as contract and things like that of where that or what that looks like. But Myles Garrett is an incredible impact player, and you could say Aiden Hutchinson. Like, come on now, that would be incredible for the Lions. And right now I'm feeling throw all caution to the wind, and maybe as time goes by, maybe my mindset will change a little bit on that. But I think on the surface, this is a big potential move for the Lions. I think they've got to be right in the middle of it because, like I said, your win now. You've got Aiden Hutchinson, who you're most likely going to sign to a huge contract extension. Why not go get one of the best of the best to pair with him, and try and see if you can't win this thing the next year or 2 years? And I think that really you would become Super Bowl favorites, regardless of what happens with the Chiefs and if they three-peat. Like, you would become Super Bowl favorites if you get Myles Garrett.
Yeah, most people think that that's kind of the indicator of letting go of a lot of picks. And we've talked about that. Brett Holmes doesn't seem like he's going to do that. What do you think early thoughts are? What it would cost to get Myles Garrett? What do you think?
Oh, I mean, you're talking
Two?
multiple firsts.
Multiple first, huh?
Yeah, I think maybe two. I mean, you could even they. I mean, you heard Brad Holmes talk about it during his end of season press conference and how there were only 4 or 5 edge rushers that were realistically available. I mean, you're talking multiple firsts. You might even have to give up a player. Like, I don't know. I would have to really dive in to see. Obviously we've talked hypothetical trades like that, especially during the deadline last season. But yeah, oh gosh, I mean, it would be
Okay,
steep.
listen. We know specifically it might be two. Let's just say two firsts for Myles Garrett. You do it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think right now where you're at, especially with the disappointment of last season, you've nailed so many of these draft picks. Like, you've afforded yourself the opportunity to go after somebody like a Myles Garrett. I think you talk about the cap situation, and you've got 1 or 2 years before that cap is going to start to get heavy, and you're going to start to feel it. And you've still got all these guys you still have to pay. I think you go do it right now, and you try to win this thing while you've got all these, like the Laportas of the world, the Gibbs, all them on rookie deals. You got to go after it, in my opinion. I think that now is the time.
Yeah, it's funny because last week it was best young core is gonna be the chant for to replace Jared Goff. Man, it's hard not to. You know what I mean? Because he's an established player. I just watched the 8 episodes of Hard Knocks. He's a monster. Like the man gets to the football. You
Yeah.
think working with this football team, so got to replace the chant. So no more Jared Goff, no more best young core. It's F them picks.
Yeah.
F them picks.
Yeah.
F them picks. F them picks. Get Myles Garrett. Like, what's it gonna hurt? Like, you think
Right.
Aiden Hutchinson and Myles Garrett are gonna flop together? What's it gonna hurt? You raise the ticket prices on these people. Let them enjoy a defense that they can be proud of instead of all this wishy-washiness, instead of all this hope. Well, maybe Mekhi Wingo, maybe James Houston. I think the Lions fans deserve more than just a maybe. Aiden's there.
Yeah.
He needs a compliment. You didn't get Trey Hendrickson. You didn't get the top dog. Max Crosby is out of his mind, not requesting a trade. I have more respect for Myles Garrett than I do for Max Crosby for sticking it out there publicly. I want out. I want to win. And winning is important. That's what I wanted Stafford to do at some point, not request a trade, But to put out publicly, the number one thing in my heart is to win and get
Yeah,
me a winner publicly and just do what you got to do. And, but I get it that, hey, you got to do what you got to do. Stafford eventually won, but not with the Lions. They don't grow on trees and they don't become available. So while Brad Holmes had to struggle and fight and scratch and claw for Zadarius Smith, make the call, get Myles Garrett. There should be no
100%.
pushback. Look, draft picks are maybes, and established stars don't just end up being there all the time. So it'll be something to talk about. You'll definitely, after we're done, I know, look at it right away and to
Yeah.
establish the pros and cons of, again, trading for Myles Garrett.